New videos every day.
Psyche Truth. Life, wisdom.
Hi there, my name is Catherine Elizabeth, and I'm here today to do a splits tutorial. Here I am sitting in my left splits because my left foot forward this is my bad side, so I'm giving it a little extra attention. I'm curious because I'm right-handed and my right foot splits are a little bit easier to achieve than my left. So I'm curious if you guys are left and right-handed, and if you try the stuff in this video, tell me if you end up having a bad side or a good side, and if it's your left or right. Just want to see if there's a correlation there. So today we're going to be breaking down the splits into a little bit more simple movements. This is a challenging pose, so we're going to break it down a little bit, find flexibility around our hamstrings, our inner thighs, our glutes, and our hip flexors. So let's get started. If this is your first workout today, you might want to pause this video and do some kind of warm-up. We want our muscles to be nice and warm, our hearts to be, pumping a little bit faster. Before I do any kind of stretching, I like doing a little bit of cardio. I would do a few minutes of jumping jacks, maybe take a run around the block, just something to get the blood flowing and the oxygen flowing to those muscles that you're going to be stretching. So after you've done your warm-up, your muscles are nice and they're rearing to go. We're going to take that lunge to the side. So we're going to have our left foot forward. We're going to stack our knee above our heel, and we're going to reach that right leg as far back as it can go while still maintaining that 90-degree angle up front. Now for me, you can bring the knee to your chest, or if you want a little bit of a challenge, you can bring your elbows to the floor and wrap that knee over your shoulder. Whichever way you choose, you want to think of pressing that right glute muscle down so that you're stretching the front of your right hip. Meanwhile, you're aiming that right heel behind you, so you're getting a real stretch on the front side of that right leg, as well as that inner thigh muscle on that left leg. And you can bend your heel back and forth. Just experiment to see which parts of your legs are stretching as you move along that range. Okay, and from here, you can take that knee down. We're going to line up both heels, one straight line here. You can angle that back foot to a 45 degree, and then we have just a nice hamstring stretch on our left leg. So you're going to take a deep breath in, exhale down, try to reach that head to your knee while still keeping your hips square. So if you might find that your hips want to go that way, or maybe they're rolling in this way. Just check in to make sure your hips are in line. Now if you can get your head to your knee, exhale all of your air out and try to increase the space between your chest and your thigh. A good stretch there. So now that we've woken up our hamstrings a bit, we're going to go back down to that lunge. And this time, if you want, you can do the same stretch you did the first time around, or you can drop that knee, flare out that left arm, bring it around, grab the right foot. Now to keep your right knee safe when you do this, you want to be resisting your hand. So I'm actually trying to actively push my hand away with my foot, and I can bring it back, so I can push, 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 push. This way you're actually stretching the muscle and not just the ligaments of the knee. Okay, just breathe through whatever pain you might be feeling. And let's go to the other side with that lunge. So we take our right knee up, stack it over the heel, reach the left foot back. You can keep the knee to the chest, or bring those elbows down, wrap the knee around your shoulder. Again, you're aiming that left hip down to the ground and that left heel towards the back of the room. And again, you can shift your foot along, see if it targets different parts of your hip. trying to limber up a little bit. Okay, and now we can push up to that hamstring stretch. Keep those heels in line. Heels in one line, left foot is in a 45-degree angle. Inhale and exhale your head to your knee. If you want more of a challenge, increase that space. Curl the spine up and increase the space between your chest and the right thigh. Again, taking care not to be twisting your hips out. Just breathe here. Okay, now we can bring it back down to that lunge. Okay, and if you want, you can drop that knee, reach that right hand forward and around, grab the left foot, and again, to keep that left leg safe, we're going to resist our hand, push it away, and you can release it. Push and release. Now, if at any time these exercises become a little too challenging, you can always refer back to my leg flexibility video, which will give you a good foundation for doing the exercises in the splits tutorial. Okay. Now that we've warmed up our hamstrings and our hip flexor muscles, we've gotten those a little bit more limbered up. So now we can go to something a little bit more advanced. So we've begun to warm up our hip flexors and our hamstring muscles. We've started to limber them up a little bit. Now we're going to take the stretch a little bit deeper. So what you want to do is put your left leg, you want to direct the left foot right into the right inner thigh, right above the knee here. The left knee is sort of pressed towards the ground if you can. We're going to flex our right foot, grab both hands around the toes here. If you can't quite grab your foot, you can use a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or an exercise band just to grab around the arch or the top of the foot here. Just pull those toes toward you. With the foot flexed, we can rotate that leg slightly inward, kind of a pigeon-toed look. And we're not going to do, we're just going to curl our foreheads to the top of our knee. So we're not aiming for our toes exactly, we're aiming our foreheads towards the space right above the kneecap. So on an exhale, we want to tuck our belly buttons in and just reach that forehead down here. So you're targeting the hamstring muscles, the muscles on the back of your thigh, but you're also targeting your glutes, the muscles at your seat, which are, it's important to limber up both of them when you're trying to do the splits. So just keep checking back and increase that curve here. Just trying to raise the spine into a nice stretched curl. Good. And now we're going to point that toe, that same toe. This time, instead of doing forehead to knee, we're going to try to do chest to toe. Now, we probably won't actually touch our chest to our toe, but it's important to think of that image so that we lead here with a nice long spine as opposed to just curling towards that toe. So we think tall, we think chest forward, and now you can grab, I would say, grab below that that meaty part of your calf. Grab that with both hands, exhale, and lead with your chest forward. You might want to really point that front toe, especially if you're a dancer or if you're trying to work on that long line. It will really challenge you to stretch to your limit. And if you can, press the back of your knee to the floor, get an even deeper stretch. The more you can mentally relax, the more easy the stretch will become. Okay. Let's do the other side. So if you feel like this is really, if stretching is just not something you like to do, try to change your approach. Know that it's probably going to be uncomfortable. Know that you might not be satisfied with the results of the stretch on a given day. You always wish you were a little more flexible. You wish you were a little bit bendier here. But just know and take pride in the fact that you're doing something to improve all the time. And you can expect the discomfort, but just let it flow through you and just acknowledge it as a necessary part of the process. But know that discomfort is getting you a little bit closer to your goals of achieving your splits. So let's do the other side. Take that flexed toe. We can rotate that toe inward just a little bit. Grab those toes with 2 hands. And we're going to curl that forehead down to the knee. You can keep pressing that right foot into that inner thigh. On each exhale, just try to increase that space. Pull your abdomen up. Think of a nice space right here. Just keep breathing through that discomfort, through that stretch. Focus your energy on those muscles. I really find that it helps to actively imagine blood and oxygen flowing to the place that I'm stretching. It really does help the stretch be more effective, and it helps the pain and discomfort dissipate more quickly. So let's bring it up there. Now go ahead and point that toe nice and strongly. We're going to grab around the ankle or right below that calf muscle. We're going to do chest to foot. So big inhale in, exhale, chest forward. And just keep pointing that toe. Push the back of the knee towards the floor if you can. And just think longer and longer. Almost like you're trying to make your legs grow. And go ahead and bring it up. So far we've mostly just targeted our hip flexor to loosen that up a bit, and we've targeted our hamstrings. Now we're going to address the glutes a little bit more in detail. So we're going to take what's called a pigeon pose, or a modified pigeon pose. We're just stretching sort of the seat muscles of that right leg. So you can just stretch that left foot behind you, and I would take that right foot and just try to find where your hip bone is. Now you might feel like that right glute is really tight, so you might be tempted to sort of pull over to this edge. Even if you end up being here, that's a great start. The idea is that you're trying to keep your hips somewhat parallel, somewhat square, so that if I'm facing this way, my hips are side by side parallel. I'm a little bit twisted out here, so I'm going to refocus, aim my hip bones forward. And now for me, I'm going to push just a little bit deeper. Now you can do this with a turned in leg where the top of my foot is towards the floor, or I can do it in turnout if I'm a dancer. And actually, I'm going to scoot forward because that floor is a little hard on the top of my foot. I'm just going to readjust here. And if you want an even deeper stretch, you can pull that foot out, and that really will get right into that thigh and that glute. Another way you can make it more challenging is by bringing that foot back in and just bringing your chest to the floor. Now if you want that supreme challenge, you can take that left foot in your left hand and pull it in as far as you can to that hip. Now you want to be careful here that you're actively resisting that hand and pulling your foot back in. You're using your muscles to push and you're using your muscles to pull back in. You also want to think of your leg being rather turned in, so you're not pulling it back this way, which can put some strain on your knee. You have your thumb up on your left hand, pulling it in this way. And always think of turning in. That should stretch the top of your left thigh pretty well. Let's try it on the other side. So starting with that pigeon pose. Trying to keep those hips square in front, extending the leg behind you. You can start by cradling that right hip with your left foot. Oh yeah, this left glute is definitely tighter for me. It's going to take a little more time to loosen up. And it's totally normal for things to be different on a given day. You might feel like you're less flexible than you were yesterday, and that's fine. You'll get it back. It's just our bodies are always changing. They're in a constant state of flux. So it's going to be a little bit different every day. Today my left glute is a little bit tight, but I'm still going to try to challenge myself by opening that left leg. Pressing down. And I'm also going to bring it back into my hip and just press down a little bit farther. Okay, and then I am going to stretch that right thigh, pulling my foot in, pushing my hand away, pulling in, staying turned in on that back leg. Sure, you can hold it here for a few seconds. Nice deep breath to recover. So now you're going to come to standing on your mat. We're going to take one final deep hamstring stretch before we go into our splits. So what we're going to do, have both feet side by side. Now you're going to bend down, grab your heels palm sides up, so your thumbs are on the outside of your heels here. Now we're going to stretch our legs up, and when you do that, you're going to direct your forehead to your knees, but also think of looking back up at your stomach, all while you pull on your heels upward. So it's all one movement. We inhale, we exhale and pull our heels, and we pull our head. And I'm looking back up at my belly button. That helps keep my spine lengthened. And you can always come back to the bending position if you need a rest. Inhale here, exhale and push up, actively pull. You should feel your arms getting a little bit of a workout. You should really be pulling on those heels. And your weight is on your toes. All right, we'll do one more from that bent position. Try to take this as far as you can. Challenge yourself. Remember to really use those arms. Your arm muscles should be active. Here we go. Inhale and exhale. Pull on those heels. The pulling will help you balance as well if you find yourself rocking a little bit. And one final pull and release. So now we're finally ready to move into our splits. So what we're going to do is take a knee, right knee down, extend the left leg forward. You're going to put your weight on your fingertips here, and you're just going to slide that right leg back as much as you can. Now there's a few different ways to do the splits depending on what discipline you're in. Again, if you're in ballet, you might have that turned out foot, so the top of my foot is facing forward, facing out, or it might be turned in with a foot more towards the floor. Now, a lot of people when they're starting, they might find that the front leg is more flexible or the back leg is more flexible, so they end up here for what seems like months. So the idea of these stretches that we're doing today is to help you give equal flexibility on both legs to help you achieve that full split. Now here, ideally you should be able to remove your hands from the floor and stay balanced. Now in my case, you might see that my back hip flexor is having a little more trouble getting towards the floor today. So I'm going to roll in on my legs. I'm going to roll in on that hip and just give myself a little bit more of a stretch for that back leg. So I'm just pressing my right glute towards the floor, and I'm feeling that stretch get more intense in my right hip, the front of my right hip. Alright, now I'll bring it back to center. Hold it here. Think tall. Alright, and let's try the other side. We'll go back to that first side and go a little bit deeper. Okay, so we extend our right leg in front, our left knee is down, put our weight on our fingertips, and extend that leg back. You can challenge yourself by pointing your toe. That'll help straighten that front leg. You can test your positioning by removing your hands. If you're falling one way or the other, you might need to adjust your hips so that they're not twisted out so much. They're facing a little more forward. And again, I'm going to roll in on that left hip. So I'm going to turn my leg in the back so the top of my foot is more towards the ground. I'm going to just rest my forehead on my hands. As I drive that left glute towards the floor, feel that intense stretch in my left hip. I'm also getting more of a stretch on my inner thigh on my front leg. Just bring it back to neutral. Now when I feel like the stretch is getting really intense, I always just try to envision myself achieving my flexibility goals. So maybe, you might picture yourself jumping through the air like a ballerina. Maybe you're winning the Olympics as a gymnast. But I think that always helps me get through those last few intense seconds of a stretch. So we're going to go back to the left side now. This time we are going to do hands-free. So this is really going to test your balance, and it'll definitely point out anything that might be a little bit tighter than another. So in this case, I have a feeling I might twist a little bit right off the bat. So just sliding that foot back. Okay. So for me, I have to get that right foot a little bit more behind me. We want one straight line here. Now I'm hands-free. So I feel like I need to put a little bit more weight on my back leg. You're always just thinking of reaching those legs to the opposite walls. So again, if you find that maybe that left front leg is really flexible, but that back leg, it wants to bend a little bit, then you may want to revisit those exercises that work on stretching the hip flexor a little bit more than the hamstring muscles. That might be what you need to focus on. So let's do the right side, hands free, test our posture. Just slide back here, reaching those legs to opposite walls. This side feels a little more stable today. Just testing the posture. Again, think chest tall, neck tall, Olympic gymnast. And just breathe through that discomfort and that tightness. Just let it go. Now, if you want an extra challenge, we can do something called oversplits, which would require some kind of booster. You might use a stack of books, you might use a towel or a sweatshirt or a foam roller if you have one, but we're really going to push our stretch to the limit using this booster. I have a towel here. So what we're going to do is place our front foot on top of the towel and go into the splits the same way. So that's going to challenge us because it's going to put our weight really into the thigh that's being stretched, and it's going to, we're not going to have any support there. So we're really just relying on our muscles to stretch for us and to put us in the position that we want. So here we go. Left heel up on your booster. I'm going to give myself a little more here. There we go. Just stretch that right foot back. And I'm still trying to maintain that neutral position, but as you can see, my left leg is sort of lifted off the floor. And that's a real stretch here for that inner thigh and for that left glute muscle. And you can increase the height of this oversplits if this becomes too easy for you at some point. You know, just keep adding books to the stack. You can also do this on your back leg if you find that your back leg is the one having more trouble, as long as you keep that back leg straight. So just a few more seconds here. Keep extending towards the opposite walls, and we can switch. So bring that booster to the other side. Do my double stack here, do double roll. Place that heel up there, and just slide that foot back. We're just letting the weight of my leg stretch that inner thigh there. Again, always checking in to make sure you're not twisting out of it too much. You can even do it hands-free here if that right hip bone is on the floor. And just a few more seconds of this. Think happy thoughts, take some deep breaths. Push a little farther down if you can. And relax. All right, so we've done everything today to help prepare you do your splits. Consistency is the key, no matter how much farther you have to go, whether you've got an inch or you've got 2 feet from you in the ground. Just keep doing it every day and eventually you'll get there. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow the channel for all my future videos, and have a great day.